My name is James, and I'm going to be presenting on my project, which is centered around connecting clients with resources. So, obviously, this takes place at my field placement. I am a senior social work student at App State and decided to do my field placement slash internship at Hospitality House of Boone, North Carolina. So this is a picture of Hospitality House. This is the shelter, but we have many locations, not only in Boone, but across the state and in other states as well. Um, I worked at the shelter, which deals with directly with being unhoused mostly. We also have a food pantry there. And obviously, a lot of services. We're kind of a mecca for that. And then we have many different programs within the agency. Just to name a few, there is Street Outreach, which deals with the pit count that are not in shelters. So going out in these rural areas and meeting people where they are, finding the unhoused. And then another one is called We Can. We Can is a pretty much like a housing assistance program, a financial housing assistance program that helps with rents, and is the in-between for people on Section 8 and the landlords. They're kind of a double agent, and Graham, who is the head of the program, kind of finds these families, sits them down, goes through all of their rental history and where their finances are going, basically. So all the costs that they may have, housing, food, electric, doctor, everything, and saying, do we need this? Where is this going? And then from there, we're finding them a suitable placement. But again, I personally worked at the shelter. Um, I was able to do a plethora of different roles there. So that kind of leads me to my next question. Why did I pick this broad topic of connecting clients with resources? Obviously, the more obvious answer would have been, housing, finding housing. But I don't think that I personally learned the most from that. I personally learned the most from connecting clients with resources, and that is definitely what kind of pushed me in my professional identity. Here's the slide that I've made about why I chose this, and also a little spiel about why is it important for social workers to connect clients with resources. But my next slide is about how my project was developed. So I really started my journey connecting clients with resources at front desk. It started very simply with connecting clients with the waitlist. We operate off of a waitlist, which is oriented by needs. Um, Clients check in every day over the phone or in person, and that makes them, higher or lower on the waitlist. But it is also based off, like I said, needs. One thing that I learned from having to connect clients with this resource is the categories of homelessness, 1 through 4. Technically, there is a five, but five is just basically you are housed sustainably and kind of just want a place to go to start a new life. Obviously, we meet those needs last on the list. But this is definitely something that was important and central to my time at Hospitality House, and I would have never learned until connecting clients with this resource. Um, It Another kind of smaller thing that I started out doing was um, signing up people for things like laundry, doctor's visits, things like that. And through that, I was able to meet our doctors, learn how that works, learn the financial aspect behind that. Um, but as I continued my journey at Hospitality House, it kind of grew. So clients, as I built more rapport, would come up and ask things like, Where are the pregnancy care centers? Where is things like bus routes? So then I was able to learn about bus routes in North Carolina, free bus routes or bus routes that are very cheap. How do I get client from this state to this state? And that was again something I would have never learned without connecting clients to these resources. Um, Obviously, as I kind of grew in my professional identity, I was able to, like I said, take on my own caseload um, and be a case manager for several different clients. And through this, I was able to link clients with resources like jobs, finding them things like churches, and therefore learning all the things that churches offered and how they support clients, which I had no idea about, but also things like HIATS, which is the Housing Initiative Assessment Tool, um, or HUD applications, or Section 8 vouchers, or past that, once I was able to get clients on all of those, setting them down with a folder that we have with all of the local apartments that accept Section 8 and saying, I know that you want to live here, I know that you have this kind of background, then figuring out exactly what they're applicable for and setting them down and going through that paperwork with them and getting them signed up for those different things or doing the same thing with jobs. I remember one of my first clients that I um, did case management for wanted to work at a church.
So it was calling all these different churches and finding out about a program called Three Forks Ministry, which
Is kind of the overarching mother of churches in our area that has access and kind of keeps up to date. I apologize on all these different churches and whether they need volunteers, whether they need someone to be hired, and exactly what programs people to be hired for. So that was something that I learned through connecting clients with these resources. Through this, I was also able to uh, kind of learn how to get clients.
identification, social security, all these things that they needed, which I'll go into a little bit more. Um, but this kind of leads me to my next slide, which is outcomes achieved.
The personal outcome of the specific activity was a great deal of learning, obviously, like I've said. Um, I was able to learn so much through collaborating with housing agencies, healthcare providers, mental health services like Daymart to kind of ensure a comprehensive, supportive help for these clients. I was, I think another personal outcome was I was able to kind of make connections with a lot of these agencies, which I think is helpful. Um, and I was really able to strengthen my ability to advocate on behalf of clients. This was a huge thing. So not only in like the application process and I was able to obviously advocate for clients with service coordinators and saying, hey, even when I sit down with this client, they're having a lot of trouble. I think that you maybe need to reassess their needs. Um, but also advocating for clients with agencies. So things like police officers. A story that immediately comes to mind is a police officer who came and maybe was trying to go around us in order to do her job. Um, but I immediately had a red flag in my head when she came up asking to meet with this client and said that she needed to do paperwork. So it was advocating saying, no, you need to have documentation as to why you're here. You need to have warrants. I'm sorry, it took me a minute as to why you're here. So I need you to go print that off for me when you come back. Like I'd be happy to connect you with that client if they're here. Another one was constantly me having to advocate for clients against medical teams. So many of the times they would come and see 338 Brickella Road and treat our clients completely differently. Um, there was times where clients would be hit by cars and paralyzed with broken bones all down their body. But because again they saw the address, they would drop the client off with little to no medical help. Another story that comes to mind was last Thursday. I'll call him L. He is undocumented. He is extremely old. We are all very worried about him because he had extreme neural decline recently. He's very, very sick. Another thing is we are not allowed to touch clients. So clients who have trouble using the restroom or not being able to control when they use the restroom, we can't necessarily help clients with that when they maybe have accidents, because there's just protocol around that. So we had dropped L off. He had fallen in our agency at night, and he had been on the floor for around 5 hours. No one had found him. And there was another client that woke up and found him in the bathroom. We were able to take him there. He had a broken bone. Um, the medical providers there did not help him. They basically dressed his wounds and put him outside in the morning. It was raining. He was covered in his own urine. It was 30 degrees. He was drenched. He was only wearing socks and a sweatshirt. And he was out at the bus stop that they wheeled him out to. They didn't, although they had the access to call us, they didn't call us. So he was left out there until he found another patient who he was able to ask for their phone and then called Burkello. So again, this was another time when I was able to call and advocate for a client, and report them. um, because obviously this is completely unacceptable. I think that when it comes to maybe the outcomes of clients, it really improved client self-sufficiency. It kind of guided clients in developing goals, um, life skill plans, resulting in increased independence, and navigating kind of community resources, which kind of developed more of their autonomy, which kind of cut ties with the need for agencies like Hospitality House, which is great. Another outcome for clients was program impact contribution is kind of a note that I have. Provided feedback to supervisors on client needs, services gaps, and supporting agency improvement and resources development. So